to live with grief. We'll quickly go through some of the previous lines and then continue. To live with grief, to confront death on her road, the mortal's lot became the immortal's share. The mortal's lot became the immortal's share. Savitri, who has taken the mortal birth, it is her lot which has become a part of the immortal Savitri who is there within her. Immortal share means there is the immortal Savitri within her. It is that immortal Savitri who is taking upon the lot of mortal Savitri. Thus trapped in the gin of earthly destinies, awaiting her odious hour abode, outcast from her inborn felicity, accepting life's obscure terrestrial rule, hiding herself even from those she loved, the Godhead created by a human fate. This we have already seen last time, the gin of earthly destinies, the trap, the snare in which she was caught at the moment, earthly happenings, awaiting her odious hour abode. Now, the word here is abode. Who is awaiting? That is not specified here. In this particular line, awaiting her odious abode, awaiting somebody, outcast somebody, accepting somebody, life obscure, hiding somebody, all these are parallel sentences, constructions. You see. For them, the subject or the verb abode here is intransitive. The subject of the word verb abode is the Godhead. Awaiting her odious hour, the Godhead abode. The Godhead who is outcast from her inborn felicity. The Godhead who has accepted life's obscure terrestrial robe. The Godhead who is hiding herself even from those she loved. It is that Godhead who abode, awaiting. In other words, for the verb abode, the subject is Godhead here. And of course, abode here is an intransitive verb, in the sense that it does not need an object. The Godhead abode. Now, as I told you last time, it is interesting that you have got here await. She is awaiting, as if something is going to happen. She is expecting something to happen. You see. Ordeal hour. Ordeal, a very severe kind of a test. What we would call in the Sanskrit literature, Agni Pariksha, the fire test. Is the fire test. So she is as if awaiting the Agni Pariksha, the fire test. Fire test means, see, in the Ramayana, there is a little story when Rama won the victory over Ravana. He was claiming back his wife. But then she was living in the house of an Asura, and she had to be kind of purified, that she remained absolutely pure even in that state of captivity. And she was then given the fire test, Agni Pariksha. She entered in the fire and the fire would not burn her, establishing her purity and her character and that kind of a thing, you see. So she had to undergo that kind of a fire test, Agni Pariksha, you see. So Savitri is also here awaiting some sort of a fire test in her life at a moment, that she has to pass through that and proceed further. Pass through that because she is carrying the load of mortality in her. So she has to undergo that test completely, whether she will be able to fulfill it at all or not. If she fails in this ordeal, then it is impossible for her to really deal with death or with anybody else, you see. So that ordeal is important for her here. Outcast from her inborn felicity. Well, she is a native of the land of Ananda, but she has come here in the mortal world, full of suffering, full of misery, full of distress, full of despair, and she is therefore kind of an outcast from that, accepting life's obscure terrestrial robe. So our robe is really obscure, dark, ugly, not pleasant at all, you see. Hiding herself even from those she loved. That I told you last time. Nobody in the hermitage knew under what conditions Savitri was psychologically. The Godhead greater by a human fate. Now she is a greater by human fate. She is the goddess already. But because she has accepted the lot of mortality, she has become yet greater. See, if a God remains in his heaven, he might be able to help man. He does help also man and all that kind of a thing. But he is fixed there. It is not progressive. Why accepting the mortal's condition by stepping into the world of mortality? Then there is a possibility of your rising up more. So that is the beauty of this mortal life, that you can really evolve to a greater height by accepting the conditions of mortality. Therefore, greater by the fall, as we have seen earlier also in one case, greater by the fall. The Godhead greater by human fate. Now, a dark foreknowledge separated her from all of whom she was star and stay, too great to impart the peril and the pain. In her torn depths, she kept the grief to come. She is in the book of Yoga, the opening canto, Savitri is swaying back and forth in the conjugal love to her husband, and the remembrance of what Narada has told. She is going back and forth constant. He says, she is shorn between grief and happiness. Savitri shorn, cut as if you see. Here she is torn between grief to come, you see. Now here, from whom, all of whom she was star and stay. Star and stay. She was a star and stay. Star, the leading light, the guiding star. The star guides you in the night, how to proceed. In the night sky, by watching the star, you can follow the path you want to trace, you see. And stay, she is the support, she is the help, she is giving every kind of a support to everybody, you see. So she is the star and stay for everybody, from whom she was the star and stay. Too great to impart the peril and the pain. She would not tell anything to anybody at all what she was suffering from, you see. Now here, dark foreknowledge. It is a dark knowledge that her husband is going to die 1 year after the marriage. That is foreknowledge. Obviously it is dark. Obviously, we have later on in the story Narad telling about what is going to happen in the life of Savitri. Savitri had chosen Satyavan for her husband. Narad comes all the way from his heaven to announce that this man is going to die 1 year after the marriage. That is the knowledge he had given to Savitri. But in the book of fate, Narad clearly says, this bright hour returning. He says, bright hour returning. Satyavan will die 1 year after marriage. It's bright hour. Here it is dark for knowledge. Let us see what is that. 6.145. In one brief year, when this bright hour flies back. See, Narada is making an announcement and telling that this is a bright hour. But here what we have got is a dark foreknowledge. Now, earlier than that, also, when Narad comes, Savitri has returned back after discovering her future partner in life, and he is going to tell something. At that time, the Queen Mother insists upon Narad to tell what is the nature of their life together, and she says 106.91. But now the Queen, alarmed, lifted her voice. He was hesitating, Narad, to tell what is stored for them in future. He was hesitating. And therefore she said, but now the Queen, alarmed, lifted her voice. Oh, seer, thy bright arrival, bright hour has been timed to this high moment of a happy life. So here, dark foreknowledge. I don't know whether we can really link up with the bright prophecy made by Narad. Although in the storyline, it looks as if Savitri knows through Narad about what is going to happen in future. Here, that background is not there in the beginning of the poem here now. But he says dark foreknowledge. So, how do you understand this bright and this dark? You see,
It's both.
both.
Yeah.
How?
She cannot be very happy because he is going to die.
No.
But at the same time, she knows that it will be a bright hour for what it's coming after the die.
No, but the poet is very definite that it is a bright hour when Narad is making that announcement. There is something good which is going to come out. But here, it is not that is what is indicated by dark foreknowledge. Dark foreknowledge does not give you that kind of hint that this dark foreknowledge is holding in store something very auspicious, something very beautiful, something very acceptable. This dark foreknowledge is something negative here, absolutely.
So what is it? He's making a game.
No, I was trying to say that we need not rush to connect this thing after reading the whole poem with Narad's statement. His arrival is a bright arrival, something very beautiful, something very auspicious, something lovely is foreseen in that. Bright arrival, bright hour. He is making this bright hour returning. Satyavan will die. Bright hour is here. It is a dark foreknowledge. See, I think this is something which is being described in the transcendent. It is not exactly in the storyline. The divine Savitri, who is going to take the mortal birth, what is her future? That is what is going to be described there. I mean, the story, so to say, is yet to unfold on the earthly scene. But what is being transcribed there, what is being already conveyed there, well, that is how Savitri will do these things on earth. Is already kind of inscribed there in the transcendent. And therefore, in the transcendent, the whole story is at this moment, it is a dark foreknowledge. Savitri has to see ignorance. Savitri is an imperishable. Savitri is an immortal. All those qualities are there in Savitri, which are not present in the story in the narration of Savitri, of Narad, you see. So this dark foreknowledge is something which is kind of foreseen, conveyed by the yogi poet himself, that the whole story is being narrated in the transcendent in this manner, you see. And therefore, he is saying dark foreknowledge. A dark foreknowledge, in other words, there is a kind of intermingling, a purposeful interweaving of what is happening on earth and what is being, what shall I say, written out in the transcendent already, you see. A dark foreknowledge separated her from all of whom she was a star and stay, too great to impart the peril and the pain. In her torn depths, she kept the grief to come. Obviously, she is holding it back. Now, all this is now that Savitri, as she will act in mortal world, is being foreseen there. is being foreseen there, you see. It is not actually happening here, but it is already foreseen there, you see. Her torn depths, here he says her depths are torn. Obviously, between this and that constantly you see. Whereas in the book of Yoga, when we are reading the joy of union between Satyavan and Savitri, we are told that she sawn, cut with a saw, hacksaw, so to say, her heart sawn between grief and joy constantly. Do this or do that. She is not able to do it. Here it is torn. Torn, she kept the grief to come.